Nest of the Nest, a program produced by the television production students of Armstrong High School that takes a look at things from the student's point of view. I'm Ariana Perella of AHS-TV, and today we'll be taking a look at the security guards here at Armstrong High School and environmental issues like global warming.
Hello, I'm Sydney Hilligas of AHS-TV. Today I'm joined by Mickey Bowser to talk about security guards' positive effects on our school. Would you please tell us a little bit about yourself for our viewers?
Hi, my name is Mickey Bowser, and I've been a security officer here for about 5 years. I was a retired state trooper, prior military. I have one son that goes to school here. I had two, one graduated, but and I grew up in this area, so this is home for me.
Thank you. We're now going to take a closer look at the security guards of AHS.
I'm Austin Kennedy, and I'm here with Garrett to ask him some questions about security guards. So, do you think that those security guards would make you feel safe?
I really do think they make us feel safe. They are always walking around the schools, checking up on us. They're very nice, and they're also very experienced in their field, so I do feel safe.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel pretty safe with them here, and they're really nice, you know, so I like them.
Yeah, it's reasonable for them to search your bags.
I do think so because of this recent rise in school shootings and all this bad stuff that's been happening lately. I do think it's necessary for them to search our bags.
Yes, because I wouldn't want a kid bringing a gun in school.
I do feel it's reasonable, but then I know sometimes like a search can be very minimal. So I guess, I don't know, it depends on how you look at it. Sometimes like I know I'll walk through the line and they'll just kind of look in my bag and then send me off. But then with other people, they might look a little more in depth.
Okay. And do you believe that there's more that they could do to protect you?
I feel like they should do whatever they feel like they have to do because they're the experts on the topic and they should know what they have to do.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
No, not really. They do a great job what they do now.
I mean, no, not really. I think they do a pretty good job as of now. I don't really know if there's much more they could do.
Thanks, Austin. I'm Cindy Hilligas of AHS-TV, for those of you just joining us, and I am joined by Mickey Bowser to talk about security guards' positive effects on our school. Do you have any specific training for this job? If so, could you give us an example?
Well, I think the years of experience as a police officer is what I rely on mostly. We do have like firearms qualifications once a year. We went to this, it's called NASRO training. It's a week-long course for school resource officers, and it touches a lot of different subjects from diffusing situations to being a mentor. But it basically is just a rehash of things that I've already known and been trained to do from my past jobs. So, yeah, that's basically the training that we receive.
Was the training hard to do?
No. Again, I was a police officer for 20 years. When you're a police officer, you go to the academy for over 6 months, almost close to 7 months. Then you go, you're working on, you're seeing something different every day, from domestics to burglaries, robberies, homicides. I worked a major case team dealing just with homicides and deaths. I've seen the worst of the worst, you know, and so that those experiences have helped me tremendously. I was accustomed to going to, say, a residence, and whatever the incident was, it was their worst day, but it was something I was doing all the time. So when you've seen that kind of stuff, it equips you for this. This is nothing compared to those type of incidents, so this is much easier.
Knowing how to react to sudden situations, is it necessary for the protection of students? Are you given scenarios based on real life occurrences?
Well, that goes back to the other question. We're not given scenarios, but we've dealt with scenarios all our careers. So every little thing you learn, you build on that, and it becomes second nature, and in reacting to whatever incident you might have here. So,
Are the students' safety your main priority? Why or why not?
absolutely, everything that is done here in the school, from the faculty to us, is geared towards the betterment for the students. We wouldn't be here otherwise. Yes, we're here to protect the faculty as well. And it's not just protection, I think we do more than that. I don't know if you've ever seen some security guards at like a local fair, they don't have the level of training. I feel like, at least for me, I could tell a difference. And I don't feel like we're just walking around like robots, you know, protecting the students. I think we get involved in the kids. You know, I like to try to build a rapport with the kids, so I know when they're not themselves. So, you know, maybe I can offer some type of help, you know, or point them in the right direction, and it's important to me.
Mm-hmm. What is the most common problem you face most days of the week?
Well, it's funny because I don't consider them problems. I was a kid too, so I did some of the things that I see. Most of the stuff pretty minor. Kids doing what kids aren't really, they're not developed mentally sometimes, as far as clowning around and that kind of stuff. You know, you're young, you do that kind of stuff, and then you get older and you're like, oh, I can't believe I did that. So, you know, throwing a grape in a cafeteria or something is not the worst thing ever, although you shouldn't do it, but they still do it. I almost jokingly say grapes should be outlawed from the cafeteria, but that kind of minor stuff, that you know, it makes it harder for the teachers and the custodians, because they have to clean it. That kind of stuff is, when you're a kid, you don't really think about it. You know, you're just having fun or whatever, and but that's really minor. But that happens every day.
Yeah.
So,
What situation is the hardest for you to handle, and why?
again, I haven't found anything that has been hard to handle. I don't even consider this a job, really. I mean, I love coming here. I know that sounds crazy, but it's fun to me. It's really refreshing, because I didn't always feel that way when I was a police officer. I mean, I was proud to do that kind of work, but especially the last part of my career, I was going to really, really serious incidents. That's all I did. I was like a forensic crime scene investigator, so I went to a lot of stuff, where now I'm able to put a smile on people's faces and see kids in a better, you know, light. You know, I mean, there are some minor incidents here and there where kids will, you know, have a bad day or something's going on at home and stuff, but no, overall, it's really, this is a great experience.
Do you feel that this school takes proper steps on taking care of the students?
I do. With what, I mean, the school, as the administration goes and the teachers, there's guidelines that they have to follow that's set forth by the Department of Education. Now, I've been here for 5 years, so I can only go by what I've seen here. I've never worked in other schools. And it's been a few years since I was in school, over 30. You know, I think I graduated in '86, so I don't have anything to compare it to as far as what I've seen, because I didn't work before that in other schools, and it's not fair for me to compare what school's like now to when I went to school, because things were a lot different. In some ways, I think things were better than what they are now, because we didn't have social media to contend with. Discipline was a lot different. I see sometimes a small group of kids who are disrespectful to teachers and into the, you know, different faculty members, and we had that too when I was coming up, but not to the level of what it's like today. And I don't know if that's just a different generation or the fact that discipline's a total different ballgame now.
Yeah,
And
it's
that's a whole
changed.
another debate. So that's my answer to that.
Metal detectors are a common sight to see in big schools. Does having them put less pressure on you?
Again, I don't feel pressure. I don't feel pressure here. The metal detectors, it's not like the TSA at the airport. They're there to deter someone from bringing in a weapon. Yeah, we don't want these jewels and vape pens and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But are we? Is that what we're looking for? No, we're looking for weapons, something that can hurt another student. If we find that kind of stuff, obviously we take it. We get rid of it. But it's just there for a deterrent. I mean, it's an aid that we use, and that's basically what I would say to that. I mean, it's good to have them because they help us, but I don't feel it's just another tool we have, just another tool.
Well, that's all for this segment of The Best of the Miss. I'd like to thank Mickey for joining me today to talk about security guards and positive effects on our school.
Thanks, Sydney. We're going to take a short commercial break, and we'll be right back with more of AHS-TV's Best of the Nest.
Two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both and be one traveler. Long I stood and looked down one as far as I could to where it bent in the undergrowth. Then took the other as just as fair, and having perhaps the better claim, because it was grassy and wanted wear, though as for that the passing there had worn them really about the same. And both that morning equally lay in leaves no step had trod in black. Oh, I kept the first for another day, yet knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted if I should ever come back. I shall be telling this with a sigh, somewhere ages and ages hence. Two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. Two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference.
And we're back with more of AHS-TV's Best of the Nest. I'm Ariana Perella of AHS-TV, and we're going to be looking at environmental issues. Take it away, Garib.
Hello, I'm Garrett Rosensteel of AHS-TV. Today, I am joined by Mrs. Reitler to talk about global warming and other environmental concerns. Would you tell us a little bit about yourself for our viewers?
Mrs. Reitler. I teach principles of science, and this year we decided that we need to be more environmentally aware. There's so much going on that the kids have an opportunity to make a change in, so I thought that I would definitely use the class as a platform so that the kids can learn more about things they can do.
Thank you. We're now going to take a closer look at global warming.
My name is Ben Kemp, and we are in the halls of AHS talking about global warming and what people think about it. Now back to Peyton in the halls.
Hi, I'm back with AHS student Jesse Ventura. Jesse, what do you know about global warming?
I don't know much about it. I don't think it's a really big deal though. You know, nobody else is talking about it, so.
Know a little bit about global warming. People claim that our Earth is pretty much getting blasted from stuff like air pollution from vehicles and factories and stuff like that, I think.
Well, global warming is basically the increasing the Earth's temperatures.
That's right. How do you feel about it?
Well, obviously, it's not a good thing to increase temperatures of the Earth too quickly. It can cause a myriad of problems.
I don't really think it's a thing, you know. Not much is happening, except for like the ice caps moving, but that's about it.
Okay.
Well, I think that it's a little bit exaggerated. I mean, planet goes through periods of cooling and heating and stuff like that. The poles change and stuff. We've only been on the planet for not that long compared to how long the Earth's been a thing, so it's really hard to tell. Could be completely made up, but I'm not too sure.
How do you think this affects our planet?
Well, it can affect it in a variety of ways. For example, as the Earth's temperatures get warmer, that can cause a decrease in food production depending on the particular parts of the world.
The oceans are rising. That's about it. I don't really know anything about it. So.
I mean, pumping a bunch of stuff into the air probably can't be too good, but I think that the effects are a lot more dramatized and used for like political significance, stuff like that.
All right, thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
Thank you, Peyton. That concludes our interviews. Now back to Gareb.
Thanks, Peyton. I'm Gareb Rosensteel of AHS-TV. For those of you just joining us, and I am joined today by Mrs. Reitler to talk about climate awareness. Now, Mrs. Reitler, what is climate change?
Well, climate change is a very broad topic, and it's a very controversial, very political, and I'm definitely not an expert on the topic. But the more that I have learned about this, the more I've realized how much I don't know. But climate is, and how it's changing, does have to do with global warming. And the global warming is absolutely necessary around the planet. We have carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, water vapor, and methane gas. And that needs to be regulated to keep the planet warm, keep it at a basic temperature, a comfortable temperature. But over time, that temperature has changed. 20,000 years ago, the temperature of the Earth was about 25 degrees Fahrenheit. And it has increased 4 to 5 degrees since around 1990, 1960s, 1990 or whatever. And it has increased close to 1 to 2 degrees in that short period of time. And how do we know that it's happening is because we see it happening. Sorry, I took your last question.
Okay, very interesting, Mrs. Reitler. Question number 2, how do we know it's happening?
How do we know it's happening? We can definitely, I don't think that anybody can argue with the way just this winter has been, that it is the warmest winter in history anywhere. Also, the changes in the weather are affected by the changes of the moisture in the atmosphere and all kinds of stuff. But the great amounts of snowfall, the weather that's just different all over the place has to do with, and believe it or not, has to do with global warming and the change in the atmosphere.
Okay, thank you. Question number 3. What or who contributes most to the climate problems?
You can't put your finger on what or who. And like I had said, that you can't really, it's so controversial as far as is or are carbon emissions the thing that is causing global warming or that change. So that's not even anything that I want to go to. But the climate, humans, obviously, it's humans. Actually, a big part of it as well is the increase in methane gas is cattle, because they produce a gas whenever they burp out waste gas. And since there is so much cattle for the meat, for the milk, for everything on the planet, that is a contributing factor to global warming, actually, little of the methane gas.
Well, you learn something new every day, huh? Question number 4, what are ways it can affect future generations?
Ways that it can affect future generations, I think that's something that everybody, it's decreasing the land that you can use. It's going to change the wildlife. It's changing the temperature, obviously. It's changing the weather conditions. I mean, these are the things as far as what can happen. People are seeing all of that on the news now anyway.
Okay. Is there any way to reverse or at least slow it down?
Reverse it, absolutely not. And this is where I'm not an expert, but that's the one I do know is that you can't reverse it. But slowing it down it's going to take a global effort, and that's what makes it difficult. Is it is political, and people believe it or they don't believe it, and they only have the news to give them the information about what's actually happening, and their choice of what they want us to know on the news.
Okay. What role does the ocean play in global warming?
Well, obviously, our planet is mostly water, so it absolutely regulates temperature. But something with the carbon dioxide emissions, whether or not that causes global warming, the CO2 that's in the air, the ocean absorbs most of that. Huge. It's called a CO2, a carbon sink. So it absorbs so much of that. So even if the carbon dioxide isn't playing a role in the global warming and the climate change, it is changing the acidity of the oceans. So what happens then is it breaks down the shells of shellfish or the seashells. And what happens there is you change an entire ecosystem. So the fish that depend on those shellfish to survive, then they don't live, and that's that whole cycle. So how does that affect countries? It affects whole populations that depend on that sea life to feed themselves. Another thing is you guys see as far as coral bleaching, that's an entire ecosystem as well, is the changes in the ocean as far as the acidity is killing off a lot of ecosystems that way.
And how does it affect humans as a species?
Again, I think I already talked about how that changes the ecosystems and the wildlife that's going to be in the oceans. So.
Okay. Have you seen anything changing in your everyday life due to climate change?
That's hard to say. I mean, other than just observing the weather, because that's what's really difficult, I think, for people to recognize it's something that they need to be aware of and try to make steps to making a change, is that you don't see yourself being directly affected. So that makes it really hard to care. Does that, yeah?
Yeah. Do you think there should be more laws in place to cut down our footprint on the earth?
That's not something that I can say. As far as laws, the laws, yeah, I don't know, because I don't even know how long. It's, again, I've said about political, what would the laws be? Are the laws actually going to make a difference, or is it just going to be some sort of an agenda?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to get votes for one thing or another. So, and I don't know.
Okay. Are there any other environmental concerns that we should look at more? And is there something that we could do to help reduce the damage?
Okay, so this is what I've really become passionate at school, is to reduce plastic use. We talk so much about recycling plastics. This is something that's really crazy, that we have been taught that we're to reduce, reuse, and recycle. Of the 7 classes of recyclable plastics, only 2 are actually recyclable. And the packaging is confusing as far as whether or not certain things are recyclable. They might have the recycle symbol on the package, and only the plastic is recyclable, but the thing that's inside it is not. So it's being misrepresented. So it's basically, we're being told we're doing something good for the environment by recycling, when in essence it's just going into a landfill anyway. We used to send all that plastic to China, Malaysia, and they finally, a couple years ago, said, nope, no more. So now we have to figure out what to do with all of our waste. So what I started doing in the class is we have been taking the plastic waste and making something called eco bricks. So I think we'll talk more about that.
Okay. Do you feel people take it as seriously as they should?
I think that people will take it more seriously the more they see us doing something about it. And that's what I had said earlier, is you don't realize how much you don't know until you start learning more about it. And I just don't think that people are aware of what's actually happening and what are the things that they can do to make a difference.
I agree with that. What are some ways we as a community could help?
Okay, this is something like this is my big thing, okay, is there are 28,000 tons of plastic that go in the oceans every day, Okay, so what we're doing in my Principles of Science class, and this was actually Mrs. Lasher had the idea, and I really just thought it was awesome, is that the plastic wrap that you get and throw away, things like any plastic wrap that you can put that does not decompose, anything like this, we have been saving that. And what you do is you pack them into the plastic bottles. And they are, like I said, it will never decompose, and they're eco-bricks. There are people in other countries that use these to build their homes. And what we want to do is get as many as we can. We're trying to collect, and I would love to get as many people to get on board with this, that you can use these, and they are like bricks. And we're definitely going to build some things around campus. Mr. Rummel had said that we can build a bench. Benches, we're going to have to see how these turn out first, because this is our first time. They might be ugly, so we'll build some nice before we put them up by the field, because he did say we could put them up there. Garbage receptacles. There are beautiful, you can actually landscape them so that you don't see the bottles. We'll use adobe, which is natural clay, to build this stuff. So everything that we're going to be using will be using the plastic that won't decompose, and we'll be taking then the mortar from the environment and building things that way.
Okay. Is there actually any point to trying to help? Will it make a difference?
Absolutely. Absolutely. This is one of the things, this is what I said, as far as it's hard for people to care when they can't see that they're making a change. But this is something you can see, and this is something that you guys on campus, you can come back and you will see that this is something that you've built and is still there. This is something when the parents and people come to see the football games or the baseball games, that they'll see this and they'll be able to learn more about this. So this is what I was saying. This is something very, very passionate about it. It's something everybody can do, everybody.
Okay, thank you. Are there clubs dedicated to helping the environment at ASD?
Well, not clubs, but we're definitely, in the school, some of the students are really interested in recycling the paper, because we do not have a recycling program here. So we're working on that. That's something that we started again. It's a pretty big project here in the building, because there's a lot of paper.
Oh, yeah.
And then as far as the clubs for the bricks, we're still working on that. And I know a lot of kids are getting interested in it, and we definitely,
That's
yeah,
all
we're
for
gonna
this
make some
segment
changes for that.
of Best in the Nest. I'd like to thank Mrs. Reitler for joining us and joining me today to talk about global warming.
Well, that's our show for this week. Best of the Nest is a production of the students enrolled in television production courses at Armstrong High School. Join us again next time for a look at some of the unique things happening in and around Armstrong High School from the students' point of view. Until then, from our next nest to yours, have a great week.